Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show. Bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Streaming live on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel, here's Nick and Matt.
Well, Nick, we finally made it on the show, episode 33, and we're streaming live on a new channel tonight, Foundation Podcast here on YouTube. We've got people jumping in. I know you can't see the feed, but why are we late tonight, Nick?
So technical difficulties on my part. The Skype that I was trying to use on, I totally still have the sticker on. Hold on one second. The Skype that I was trying to use on the laptop that I was using wouldn't let me log out of the previous account to it. So now I was trying to struggle getting into my account and setting up a microphone and everything like that. But unfortunately, I'm out on the road right now. And so I had a little bit of technical difficulties.
That's funny. So I kind of figured it might happen that way when we were like, yeah, let's launch on the new channel with you on the road. I was like, it's probably going to be a little funky. But honestly, we're still going to bring you great interviews. Nick, honestly, I was impressed by your performance out at Las Vegas. You averaged 1,008 and you outperformed names like Nate Perkins, Austin Hannum, Greg Barsby, and then even Emerson Keith, to name a few. You finished in 49th place in a field of 135. How did that feel?
It felt pretty good. The first round and the fourth round were definitely the more lackluster of the two. The second and third round, especially the third round, were definitely where I kind of felt like I was more in my element. There were definitely mistakes that I made through both of those rounds, but they were a lot cleaner than the first two. The first day was super windy and we were playing kind of a shorter course, so I felt like I needed to be in attack mode. Unfortunately, on some of the holes that didn't really work out. And same thing with the fourth day. It was a lot windier and I felt like I wanted to be more aggressive on some shots where I should have just kind of taken my medicine, taken some pars here and there. But it was super fun. Like you said, I did average 1,008. I wish it was a little bit higher, especially because on the third day, technically I shot my highest rated round at, I think it was 1038.
Yeah, I just put out the average there, averaging 1,008. That's pretty good. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that, like what it took to maybe get last cash at an event. You're kind of close to that, but just like what it took, we'll talk about all that stuff. We're going to break it down to you. We've got Eagle McMahon lined up. He's not in our green room yet, but we're going to have him on very soon here in the next 2 minutes, probably. Ezra Aderhold, we've got him lined up. He'll be on here in about 20 minutes or so. We're going to break down the LVC. What just happened? LVC Performance Breakdown. We're going to talk about Paul McBeth's contract, the All-Star event by the Disc Golf Pro Tour, as well as the Disc Golf Network. Now, obviously, everybody has an opinion on that, but we're just here to talk about the facts. So, with that being said, as Nick's camera falls down.
Sorry.
There's some technical difficulties. Nick is going to hopefully be streaming with a webcam and a laptop here in our next shows coming up. And Nick, real quick, tell us just the 15-second version. What's the studio going to look like for you as soon as you're back off tour?
So I'll be at the Foundation studio down in Virginia. I'll be able to use an actual camera that will set everything up. I'll have a laptop where I can see what's going on, check out my audio levels and everything like that. So it'll be a lot more professional than what I've been able to do the last few weeks, being at, a different house, being in a guest room, or, like right now I'm out on the road.
Yeah, for sure. So the topics we've got lined up, can I ask who you're traveling with on tour right now?
Is that for me?
Yeah. That's for you, Nick. Don't get starstruck by our green room right now.
I know. So right now I'm traveling with Paul and Hannah. I was able to spend the week with them here in Vegas, and we were able to get a lot of practice rounds in. We hung out with Brody, hung out with a bunch of different people, but at the moment we just drove actually this morning from Las Vegas to Arizona. We got here about an hour or two ago, and so I've been traveling with them, and I will be for the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. All right. So guys, this is probably why you showed up. Obviously, Nick and I have built a show, but it's not about us. It's about disc golf, what's happening in the disc golf world. And we're excited to bring to you interviews that you want to hear. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and bring him on. We've not done any audio tests here. We're hoping everything works flawlessly. We've got Eagle McMahon lined up here he is on screen. Let's go ahead and talk to him now. Eagle, first of all, congratulations. Where are you located right now? A little bit of traveling, I'm sure.
Yes, some traveling for sure. I am actually in Huntsville, Alabama now. This morning I got out on a flight from Vegas. I left my dad in Nevada. He's currently en route to Utah. He's going to go check out Zion National Park. But yeah, I'm going to be spending a week in Alabama before heading to Waco. So get some sweet home Alabama time in, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome.
Well,
Nick,
congratulations. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, did you see Eagle out there? Were you able to watch his final round?
I did. I watched a little bit of his final round, mostly on the Disc Golf Network, just since we're not really supposed to be going back out on the course due to everything going on right now. But Eagle and I were able to play a practice round. Actually, I think the first day we played it was the second day we played the Innova course, and it was super fun. And what was funny is we had him on one hole throw the tilt upside down. So it was very cool to see him do that, walking up the fairway on 18 and throwing the tilt like that.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to get to that actually, but let me go ahead and start out here. Eagle, we want to know, the people want to know, the chat room wants to know. This is a live show, so let's ask. So this is the first Elite Series event of the year for you. Obviously, you wanted to win, but what was your winning formula? Meaning, how did you accomplish this? Because obviously you had a game plan. You averaged 1,077 over the course of 4 rounds. What was your winning formula? And how is your win here going to affect your next tournament appearance?
Yeah, so the formula was essentially, I'm tracing back to 2018, which, I feel like my past few seasons have been pretty good, but 2018 was, I was having the most fun, and I was the happiest with how I played overall. And going into that season, I really wanted to start playing, quote, Sexton golf, because leading up to that, I got so tired of taking all these unnecessary bogey strokes, and I really just cracked down, and I just tried to look at every hole and try to break each hole down to a science, to where I'm throwing the most conservatively aggressive shot there is. Like, obviously, if I want to have a chance to win a tournament, I'm going to have to be somewhat aggressive to compete with, the top guys. But at the same time, being on lead card and seeing the way Ricky, Paul, and even Calvin plays sometimes is, can be a little reckless. And, they throw away strokes up at the top. And I just figured, if I can go out and play sound throughout the entire round and keep everything under control, that's going to be one that's going to result in, maybe not the hottest score, but it's going to put me, up at the top with a chance. And I proved it perfectly in round three, where, I really didn't feel like I was doing anything crazy to my own standards. But I was just throwing the shot in front of me, and if there was like a shot that I shouldn't have gone for, or some danger, I feel like I managed it really well. But when that happens, usually I can kind of relax into a groove, and then if I start making shots, if I'm starting to feel confident putting, then I can roll with that momentum and ultimately to go into warp speed, which I felt like I kind of did the back 9 of round 3, and to start the round in round 4.
Yeah, so you finished in the round 3. You finished 10 down through the last 9 holes, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One crazy stat that I heard, for a certain stretch, I was 17 under on 17 holes.
Okay.
Trace back. So I needed to birdie hole 6 on the Innova course to go 18 birdies in a row, or 18 understrokes in 18 holes. So
if people don't know which one hole 6 is, on the Innova course, it's the one where we play twice. Hole 6 is actually technically the shortest course that we played throughout the whole tournament. So what you're saying is that you missed the birdie on the easiest hole, Eagle. I'm messing with you.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But
No, it was a massive headwind.
So
yeah, I was the only. Oh, Ricky made the island as well, but there was no birdies on that hole.
Yeah,
Funny enough.
no, I do remember that.
So let me ask you this. Was there something that clicked for you halfway through round 3? Because this is what you're talking about as far as how many birdies in a row. It seemed to me as a viewer that something might have clicked. You obviously went perfect, beyond perfect, 10 under on the back 9 of round 3, and then you proceeded to only par as your worst 5 other holes from that point out. So from round 3, half back 9, that's a lot of birdies. Like, something seemed to have clicked. I actually asked Simon this. Yes, I'm name dropping. I was talking with Simon during the round, and I said, Simon, did something click for him? Because what happened there? Like, so just fill us in. Did you feel anything different?
I definitely felt something. I can kind of, looking back, the front 9 of round 3 was really slow for me, and it was honestly a big struggle. I think on the front 9 I was only 2 under, and I was kind of falling behind. I think at one point Calvin was beating me by 5 strokes. I was just thinking, gosh, all you need to do is just start getting birdies. Like at Vegas, it's, pars are almost like bogeys because, if you're not birding a hole, someone else is. So I started today at 23 under par, and my main goal was to get to 30 under. So I was 2 under. I was just thinking, going through the course in my head and like thinking, oh, there's the par 5, there's this easy par 3, and I was just trying to run through scenarios in my head on how I could get 7 under out of the round so I could get to 30 because I felt like 40 under would be a pretty good score for the weekend. So if I got to 30, that meant all I had to do was shoot 10 under the next day to get to 40. But I hit an outside the circle putt on, I don't know what hole it was. It might have been it was 9 or 10, but it was a putt that I didn't think I was going to make. And then that kind of got the juices flowing. There was an easy par 4 that I got an easy 3 on, and then I think this is really where the momentum all started. Was the par 5 to either 11 or 12. I threw I used my Bushnell rangefinder to look back on how far I threw a roller. It ended up being around 750 feet, and I had like a really easy forehand approach to get an eagle. And then all of a sudden, I built on that, and the rest of the card just kind of, I don't know if they were in their own heads or maybe I got in their head, but I just felt like I started to separate myself from the group, and I just felt like I was the pacemaker.
Awesome. Awesome. So it seems to me it was pretty apparent that the rest of the card in the final round wasn't keeping up. Okay. So it seemed about maybe hole 4 or 5. Is that what it seemed like to you? And then I guess I would say, at what point did you kind of feel like or realize maybe you were running away with it? Because that's the appearance that was there. It was like, again, talking with Simon, because we were doing a live companion feed thing. We were both like, it's over. It's over. Like, he's 7 or 8 strokes ahead, 6 holes left. Like, so, but at what point for you did that happen?
So, yeah, I kind of got excited on hole 4 slightly. It's when Calvin got a bogey, I got a birdie, and then all of a sudden, within 4 holes, I was up 5, and I think I was up 5 on Paul as well. And just right away, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this isn't." I'm playing with the 3 highest rated players in the world, and wasn't here, but I thought there was going to be fireworks. I thought it was going to come down to the end, and all of a sudden, it's like 5 stroke. This is kind of yours to lose now. And I just kind of, I knew there was a lot of easy par 4s out there. So I was just thinking, if you can just put your drive in the fairway, a lot of the times you're almost just throwing a jump putt approach. So if you can just lock those down, the chances are you're going to win. But it wasn't that easy. Believe it or not, like a 5-stroke lead that is very substantial, but at the same time, you are kind of running through all these scenarios. You're a little bit nervous in your head, thinking, if I double bogey and another competitor birdies, that's 3 strokes. It's down to 2. So you're going through all these scenarios in your head. So I just kind of told myself, losing 1 stroke is okay, whether that means I bogey, they par, or they birdie, I par. That's okay. It just, you really got to avoid making a mistake and with more than one stroke. So I just really just tried to put my shots in the right places, and it ended up working. And one other thing was hole 6 when Calvin threw out of bounds and Paul, I think, took a 5. At that point, I was like, okay, this is the holes are starting to run out now, and I'm starting to like my chances.
Mm-hmm. So I think, and you can, do you feel like you had an advantage going into that last round, birdieing the first 5 holes to start? You had built up a little cushion now. The wind was massive on the final day. And so now players that are falling behind have to start playing a lot more aggressive to make sure they're putting themselves in birdie opportunities. Do you feel like because you had a 5 or 6 stroke lead at some point, you were able to play a little bit safer in the sense of, my drive's not exactly where I need it to be, so you don't have to be as aggressive on this upshot, but you're still going to put yourself in a chance to potentially birdie. But like you said, pars are still good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. And it was also kind of interesting. I felt like early on, I kind of broke my competition to a certain extent. Like every time they pushed or tried to do something, even if they matched me on the hole, they weren't making up any ground. And I feel like that kind of, frustrated them, and they were trying to push. And then, some of them, I know Paul kind of did it. Calvin did it. They kind of started to do a little bit of a tailspin. So, I think just putting the pressure on them early on and not messing up, that was key for me to, I don't know what was going through their heads, but I felt like I got in their heads.
That's perfect. So at what point did the throwing the tilt and then throwing it upside down, at what point did that enter your mind? Tell us about that.
I mean, yeah, coming down the stretch and I was up 7 strokes. I could have almost thrown any shot I wanted to. I wanted to do something flashy, but I still wanted to potentially get a birdie just for my own greedy reasons. But messing around with the tilt, looking at the way the shot lined up, like, this is the perfect time to showcase something that a lot of people haven't seen before. So I was like, what better time than this? You're not going to want to throw that shot, any other time than, being up, knowing you have it in the bag, or some doubles fun shot or whatever. But, it just felt like the perfect thing to do at the time. And I just said, let's have at it. Let's have some fun.
So
yeah, there you go.
So you're saying you're basing it off of, you knew your lead and it literally went through your head that I can throw any shot I want to. Like, that's what went through your head. And then you started thinking through, like, okay, what shot am I going to throw? And I'm going to pull out a tilt. So like Simon and I doing the companion feed, he's like, I hope to throw, he has the tilt. And then you pulled it out, showed it to the camera. And again, Simon, he's like, he threw the tilt. Like, he's so happy. Like, you'll have to go watch that companion feed. It's pretty funny. But anyways, so that's really, really cool. You did that. Some people are calling it a flex, and like, as in you flexed to show, and disrespecting people on your card. Do you feel that at all?
I do not feel that at all. It was completely for fun. And it's funny, I've been reading a lot of comments regarding that, and everyone's like, well, why would you do a shot like that? The reason why I did it is because when are you gonna get another opportunity to throw a disc upside down on the lead card at a pro tour? Like, it would be a really bad idea unless, for some reason that shot has some benefit. Maybe it like slides on its on the bottom, and it creates some cool shot. And I just felt like it was it's not as crazy as it seems. Like, anyone on that card could throw the tilt upside down and it would fly like that. It's not unique to me. All you need is a little bit of imagination and you can do crazy things with that disc. So, I wasn't disrespecting anybody on the card. I just wanted to do something fun, for the fans, for my own sake. I'm when it comes down to it, I'm a disc golf nerd. I want to throw funny and cool shots that impress myself. So that
for sure,
that's what it came down to.
For sure, and I'm just asking the questions, man. I think I personally thought it was epic, and I was just as excited to watch it as well. So you've heard about this news, Paul McBeth news, and before we let you go, thanks for sharing everything about the tournament experience. Again, congratulations on that. How does news like Paul McBeth signing with Discraft $10 million, 10 years, does that? And by the way, it's been reported now by TMZ, The Guardian, Barstool Sports. It's all over, not just disc golf media. Does that inspire a player like you? And if so, like, what does that inspiration look like to you?
No, it's incredible. Okay, sorry, the cat food thing went off. No, it's honestly incredible. Seeing where disc golf has come from, and the stereotype of the disc golfer is living in a van down by the river and eating ramen every meal. That's kind of what people think of when they think of a professional disc golfer. But the fact that we're breaking the norm, we're getting on ESPN, and now a deal like this is public. I'm really happy for Paul because he's earned it. His accolades in his career, the amount of dedication he's put in, but also for disc golf, when we're all going to benefit from this, just because like you said, it's getting picked up all over social media, TMZ, Barstool. It's a rising tide lifts all boats. So this is incredible for disc golf. It's incredible for Paul, and it's just it's an amazing time to be a part of this amazing game.
Yeah, that. I think you said it well. It's big for the sport. So before we let you go, you obviously won, but there was somebody else that was making significant strides, pushing pretty hard. Obviously, Calvin was one of those. But I think there's a storyline here, and I'm interested in your opinion on it. Ezra Aderhold, we're going to be having him on in a minute. But before you go, his performance was pretty awesome this weekend. What do you think that means, if anything, for the sport and maybe this year's tour even? Does that tell you anything about like what the tour year is going to be like with newer athletes to the sport performing at such a high level?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back to previous years, usually you have 1 to 2 top names coming on the scene. So I think this year it's going to be Ezra's year. If you look back to like 2018, 2019, it was Calvin, it was Kevin Jones, Dickerson. So we're getting more names, and top 10 is going to be pretty elusive for most people because it's going to be such tight competition, especially on 3-round events when there's even less time to separate separate each other. So it's going to be really intriguing to see. I think Ezra did incredible. I played with him the 3rd round, and there was I don't know, it was nerves. I mean, it was his first time being on a lead card Jomez covered round, so I imagine there was some pressure associated with that. But he didn't have the best round, but the thing was he bounced back in the 4th round and got a 2nd place finish, which is huge for his career. Signing with a new sponsor, new disc. So I'm really excited to see what's to come. And the amazing thing about Ezra is that look at the guy. He's jacked, and that's going to make people really intrigued to hit the gym and better their game. I know I work with Disc Golf Strong, and a lot of people are getting interested in that aspect of the sport. So he's a really great person to help grow the sport of disc golf and be a role model.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think there's going to be more and more players now coming up who inspire to be more athletic in the sport, because we can start seeing that the athletic people in our sport who are taking care of their bodies, eating healthy and everything like that are finally starting to rise in, like you said, that elusive top 10.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
So Nick,
yeah.
I know you're out there in Arizona. You because of technical difficulties, you are not seeing the show notes, which is a little weird for us. So do you have anything you want to close out with here before we let Eagle go? Because we're getting ready to bring Ezra in.
Well, I guess one kind of like maybe 30-second answer. Coming off of the All-Star weekend really quick, you didn't win the All-Star weekend. The exhibition match, kind of everything that a lot of people in the world were really looking forward to, because it was the first thing of disc golf that we've had in so long. So did that break or give you any confidence going into Vegas? Like, how did you feel? What were your thoughts about the All-Star event in the sense of how competitive were you trying to be? Or were you really, really just looking forward to the Pro Tour start of the actual season?
Yeah, so I really didn't play that much in the off season. I would say I played less than 20 rounds from the final events, which was the Pro Tour finale, to the start of the year. Just mostly because I was focused on other things. I wanted to give my body a rest, and my first time throwing like for real was starting Wednesday before the All-Star event. So I was pretty rusty going into the event. And the first day was doubles. There was definitely some competition there, but I had a partner, so it didn't really feel like I was playing an event. And then all of a sudden, the final day, we're kind of thrown into this one round high stakes tournament, and it was a weird feeling, because all of a sudden, I'm like, my body remembered, oh dang, you're playing a disc golf tournament. Get in the tournament mindset, try to lock yourself in to win, because a title's a title. It would be really cool to say that you're the DGPT All-Star champion. So I was definitely pushing, and for some reason I felt like a weird thing happened on every hole that I threw, and I was on pace. Like, I was looking back, obviously everyone can say how they could, but of course I'm going to say that too. And I saw a lot of opportunities that I missed, and it kind of the same feeling that I had at the DGPT finale. I was not satisfied. I was really not happy with how I played, and I just was like, okay, you have two options. You can cry about it, or you can go into the next event and try to fix those mistakes and get on track for the rest of the year. And I think that's what I did.
Well, crying works sometimes, Eagle. You got to do a little cry and then maybe a little re-strategizing and replanning. But
it's for crying's fine, but how long you cry for. That's the key.
Guys, quote
exactly.
Yeah, quote
Keep that
Eagle
to a
there.
minimum.
Exactly. Quote that Eagle right there, man. That's a good one. It's not it's not about crying, it's how long you cry. That's good. So all right, Eagle, you have any shout outs you want to do before you go? We totally appreciate you taking time to come on the show. Nothing.
I'm gonna shout out you guys because congratulations on a successful show. I've been I watch almost every week to a certain extent. My dad chimes in, so it was Tuesday, right? And now it's Monday.
Thursdays.
Yeah. So it's all messed up.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the days. The funny thing, as a professional disc golfer, you literally forget the days of the week. It's all one weekend. The weekends are like weekdays, because that's when you work. It's all messed up. I'm in a time warp.
Okay.
But, shout out to you guys.
I totally appreciate it, Eagle. Until
Thank
next time,
you, Eagle.
Until next time, when you're a champion at the next event and the next event and the next event, you'll be harder and harder to get on the show. So can we get a commitment from you now? Like, yes, you'll come on if you keep winning. Maybe. He won't answer.
You got it, baby.
All right,
Sounds
dude.
good. Quoted.
Totally appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. All right. Bye.
Have a good one. Later.
Take it easy, buddy.
All right, Nick. So what was it like on the ground there at Las Vegas Challenge? Tell me what it was like the feeling there. Obviously you weren't walking it. The weather was a little funky, wet wind one day, not the next day, but like in general, what was the feeling of that event?
It was awesome. The only thing that I would complain about is, which a lot of pros have been complaining about, is trying to practice and learn 3 courses within, pretty much 3 days of practice. You had half a day Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to practice for a 4-day event. You played the Mpo course twice. It's kind of a lot, to really understand the courses and really understand where all the OBs and the hazards and everything like that are in that short of time frame. But other than that, I super enjoyed playing the courses. The style of golf is not what I'm used to. And so being able to actually go out and throw, layup shots for birdies. I was able to play Nate Sexton golf, and I actually enjoyed it to a point. It did make me realize, though, that I need to learn how to throw a little bit further.
Yeah, so we actually have that as one of our topics to talk about a little bit of what happened at LVC, right? So we will talk about that as far as like practice rounds. That's an interesting topic to go with. But without further ado, we're just about to welcome in. He just jumped into our green room so nicely to do that. His last name, I'll get it right. Everyone's been complaining about people getting it wrong. And if I get it wrong, I'll apologize, but I'm pretty sure I have it right here. Let's welcome into the room here. His name is Ezra. Oop, not Eagle McMahon. See, I got to switch that up real quick here. We got to change it on screen, but
I'll take that.
He did win the event.
The funny thing is here, guys, I'm trying to do all this on the fly, welcoming new guests and all that, but let's welcome. Here we go. Ezra Aderhold officially on camera. So tell us, are you still there near the event in Las Vegas, or have you already hit the road and you're showing up somewhere else?
Yeah, I actually left pretty close to after the round got done. I headed down to Phoenix, so I'm actually at Vista right now, getting ready for Memorial.
Very nice. Already going into the preparation for the next tournament. So you had your best finish ever at a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, and you've won smaller tournaments. You've won A tiers. You've averaged you've shot 1090, 1080 rated rounds. But I think it's safe to say that you were able to put up the first 1100 rated round of 2021. What's the feeling of that, being able to play? So I'm sure you would say that was a good round for you. That was a great round, obviously. Do you feel like you played up to your potential, or is there still some out there?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, most things went right. I feel like a perfect round on that course is probably 22 down. If you really get aggressive and go for all of the eagle opportunities. The way I played, I think I probably could have shot 18 maybe if I would have done everything correctly, because I wasn't as aggressive as I probably could have been. But yeah, I mean, I'm super happy obviously with that round. So 1100, anytime you can shoot close to that or at that is amazing. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the finish. Obviously, second place is way better than anything else that I've done. All last season, I think tied 10th was my best. So overall, I'm happy with that. Obviously, kind of the way that I got second, I'm a little bit disappointed with. So it's kind of bittersweet. Second place is great, but I kind of had a chance at winning, and so I'm still a little bit disappointed about that. But I'm just excited for every opportunity that comes with this season. There's a lot of tournaments left, and I'm ready to hopefully take one down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, there's definitely a lot of tournaments left. I mean, that really was the first tournament of the year, and you're already out practicing for the second one. So what's kind of you drove right after the round. What's your mindset going into the Memorial now? It's not a Disc Golf Pro Tour event this year, but it's still a large A tier. You still have 2 of the highest rated players in the world going to the event. Do you have a goal in mind, or do you have, what are your expectations for this week?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to win. I think at this point, any tournament that I go to, that's going to probably just be my goal. I know that I have skill at this point to be able to win if I do play well. It is a little bit different field just because there's not a Pro Tour title attached to it. So it just being an ATL kind of takes away a little bit from it. But obviously, I'm still going to try to give it my all and play my best and hopefully take the win.
So you averaged 1,064, okay, over the course of the 4 rounds. There was a lot of, I'm going to put it in quotes, but Ezra hype during the off season. It sounds to me like you were not surprised, just based off what you're saying, you were not surprised by your performance, and you're already saying your goal is to come out and win these events. But your PDGA rating is 1,016, your player rating. And I know we don't need to make a big deal out of player ratings, because I think once you've established yourself in the professional scene, that doesn't matter as much as your performance. But it is a statistic that kind of tells us what to expect. Can I ask you, is your player rating just lagging behind? Because you obviously just played 60 points higher than your rating? Is that what we should expect? Is that more close to what your performance level is?
I hope so. I think so. Obviously, if I can just keep trying and playing well, I think my rating will just continue to go up. I definitely felt like the first round and the last round where I shot like 1060 and 1070, that felt a lot closer to what I feel like average should be versus that third round where I shot like 1005. So I feel like closer to those higher ratings is what I should be shooting. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'll see if I'm able to keep that up. But I think I should be able to. I know my skill set is there. I just need to be able to, stay in bounds and make putts. And I think if I can do that, then my rating should be able to catch up with with Eagles and Chris and Paul and Ricky, those 1050 guys.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people kind of in the offseason, you really made yourself known last year. You were on the Jomez coverage for the DGPT finals. You bomb drives, you make great putts, you have a great step putt. A lot of people found your YouTube channel from that. And way long ago, you did kind of like an in the car video. And one of the things you talked about is that was your life. You were living in a Prius at the time, and now you're in an RV. You were eating beans, and that's kind of another thing. Everyone always says, Ezra, he just eats a lot of beans. Can you guys kind of give us a little take on what's it like going into the RV now, and what is your food regimen?
Yeah, it's obviously a pretty big upgrade. Obviously all last season I was just in that Prius, and that was where I spent a lot of time. I slept in that thing, and I cooked in that thing. So that was a big part of my touring season. It helped make that tour season possible. So to be able to have like an actual bed and kitchen and fridge, to actually use this season in the RV so far has been amazing. Obviously it's kind of allowed me to improve my diet a little bit more too. I've been able to have salads and smoothies pretty regularly, and I can cook, any meal I want to. So it's definitely opened up a lot of possibilities that I feel like will help elevate my game to the next level. And I think maybe it already kind of has too. So.
Mm-hmm. And you're one of the players. You're one of the most athletic. I would say at least top 3 most athletic players in the sport, maybe even the most athletic when it just comes to body stature and, the way that you throw, the power that you have with it. Were you into bodybuilding before disc golf? Were you just a natural athlete at different sports? Kind of like, where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, fitness has been kind of important to me for a while. I think I started swimming competitively when I was like 9 and did that until I was like 15 or 16. So I got kind of in shape from that. And then when I stopped swimming and transitioned kind of into ball golf, I just liked being in shape still. So that's when I kind of started like going to to the gym and working out and using free weights and things like that. And so I liked being in shape. I think like the saying like look good, feel good, play good is pretty true. And so if I can keep my body in shape, then I think that'll translate to better play too. So healthy body, healthy mind.
What is it about fitness people? And I'm calling you fitness people, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. And these like awesome like one-liners, like feel good, play good, whatever that is. And like we had Seth Muncie on here.
I don't know. That's a thing, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Seth Muncie, our show with Seth was like out of control.
Play good.
Yeah. So, can I get you to do something for me? A review of each post-round feeling. It doesn't have to be in a long, elaborate play-by-play, but like round 1, you were 2 strokes off the lead, and you were bumped off of the lead card for the next round just because of your PDGA number. So, what was that feeling after round 1? Can you bring yourself back there?
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, I didn't actually have a whole lot of confidence going into round 1. I don't usually practice that well. Like in practice rounds, I usually play a lot better in tournaments than I do in practice rounds, and it was kind of no different for this one. I didn't really practice all that well, so I didn't have a whole lot of confidence going into this tournament. But then, like, as the first round kind of started progressing, I started playing well. Then I realized that I was actually playing well, and so then when I finished that round, I was actually a little bit surprised that I'd put up a solid round, and I went OB on 18, so like I really easily could have been tied for the lead after that first round. So then I had some confidence going into the second round, and then after I shot 1100, I was obviously super stoked, and to be in the lead, that was an amazing feeling. Yeah, it was just super exciting. And then the third round was really disappointing. I was pretty hard on myself after that round, and really disappointed in myself. And yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Went into the final round and just tried to play my best, and then after the end of that round, it was just kind of that bittersweet feeling of obviously I played another solid round and I'd finished second, which was solid, but still not quite enough to win. So kind of a little bit mixed emotions after the final round.
I quickly want to go back to the third round, and because a lot of people are going to want to know what's going on in your mindset where you are a newer player coming into the tour and you're in a big moment. You're at a Pro Tour event, you're on the lead card. What happened the third round? Was it, camera jitters? Was it, putting yips or whatever? Like what was going on through your mindset to where you feel as though you didn't shoot to how you could shoot?
Yeah, it's hard to say, because I've been filmed several times before, so I don't really think it was that. I mean, obviously the second round I was filmed by Gatekeeper, and there was a live DGPT guy filming for that round too, and obviously this is probably the biggest card I'd played on as far as the level of skill. I think I was playing with all like 1050 guys, so that might have contributed a little bit. But I've played with all those guys before in other rounds, and the second round I played with Ricky and James, and those are obviously really really good players. And so I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, in my mind, I could definitely feel that my game was different. I kind of forgot how to step putt. My timing was just completely off. It just felt kind of weird. So not 100% sure what it is. Everything is kind of just practice, and hopefully I can learn from what happened, and hopefully just put myself in more positions like that so I can hopefully do well and just keep improving.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think
Go
that's
ahead.
the best mindset you can have, is just looking forward to the next event and looking forward to the next time that you will be in that position, and not thinking back on, oh my gosh, is this actually going to happen again?
Yeah, so what I was just going to say there, because I wanted to actually put a little positive spin on it here for you, because I know that you're feeling a little down on how some of that went, but let me just play it out for you. You talked a little bit about your feelings, but round 2, you were still only 2 strokes off the leader. So you didn't really lose anything. You shot a 16 down 1100 rated round. That's obviously nothing to laugh at. Round 3 that just got brought up, and we were even talking about maybe what you would feel as the negatives to that side of it. You would have still been on the lead card had it not been for your high PDGA number. So you had still shot well enough to be on the lead card. And again, getting bumped because of that, and that's a PDGA thing, that how they handle the ties.
Well, for the third round, he got bumped because of hot round. A player who said he ended with the same score as Ezra after round 3. Whoever shoots the hotter round is the one who makes it onto the higher card. So PDGA number only matters after the first round, or after the first round going into the second round.
Interesting. I just learned something new. And thank you for sharing that. Let's see
No
here.
problem.
So, but then for final 4th round here, you tied for second place, shooting 11 down, 1,075 rated round. You did not perform poorly. You obviously have high expectations. You want to win. But again, congratulations on that second place finish.
Thanks.
Yeah. So what should we expect? You want to win everything from here on out. I mean, I don't want to put a negative spin on this, but here we go. Was this a fluke?
Yeah.
Was this a fluke? Are we going to see more of you on lead cards in the top 10 easily? Or like, what's your standard that you're saying, I'll be concerned if I'm not, and you fill in the blanks?
Yeah, I expect to be. I think like last season, top 20 was kind of where I sat. Most of my tournaments, I feel like I was kind of top 20. This season, I feel like if I'm outside of top 10, I'll probably be pretty disappointed. I definitely expect to be on lead card a lot more. I think as far as this tournament goes, I feel like the biggest fluke thing that happened for my tournament was that third round. It felt like that was more of a fluke than the other 2 rounds, than the other 3 rounds. Sorry. So, I expect to be close to the top. And obviously I want to win. So that's kind of the goal.
I love it.
One big thing that happened recently is you now became sponsored by one of the hottest companies out there. You guys came out with an early release of your Tour Series disc, the Nuke. And then today, I think at 1 p.m. Eastern, they actually came out with another series of your Tour Series disc. Did that sell out for you?
Yeah, that sold out in I think 7 minutes.
That's awesome.
So that was
That's
just
cool
like a pre-release, because they're actually going to be those. They have those discs going to retails as well in a week or so. So this was just kind of like a pre-release thing just on the factory store website. But yeah, those sold out super quick.
Cool.
Super.
How has it been?
It's awesome.
I think I saw today on YouTube, maybe it was recently, but you just came out with kind of the building the bag. You came out with your mid-range section of it.
Yeah.
Besides for the videos and taking it and, people watching it there, can you kind of explain quickly on how it came to be, I'm a sponsored Discraft player now, and actually building your bag around all sponsored, Discraft discs?
Yeah. It hasn't been too difficult. Obviously last season I basically threw half Discraft by the end of the season anyway, so I'd been familiar with a lot of the molds, and a lot of the molds that I bag now I kind of threw already. So it hasn't been super difficult in that sense. When I went to the factory, like right when I got sponsored and right for the announcement, I was able to kind of just pick out a bunch of discs and throw them in a box, and they shipped them to me. So I was able to try a bunch of stuff out and kind of hone in on what I wanted for my bag. And then the building the bag series is just kind of showing what that process has been like, and kind of letting people in on that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've touched on a lot here, but I kind of want to hear your response to this, and I think others might appreciate it as well. You placed higher in this tournament, first Elite Series of the year, placed higher than McBeth, Wysocki, Sexton, Heimberg, Girthy, Ulibarri, Conrad, Jones, a whole bunch of other notable names. What does that mean to you to hear those names and to know that you actually outperformed them this last week? And that's got to mean something.
It's honestly pretty crazy because I've been a fan of disc golf for basically since I started playing like 6 years ago, and I've seen these guys on coverage so much, and so to be able to play with them and then actually be able to beat them it's insane. It's kind of a dream come true. Obviously, it's not all the way there until I actually win and beat everybody in the field, but it definitely feels good to kind of take down some of the biggest names in disc golf.
For sure. All right. Well, the dog barking in the background, Nick, if that's your place.
Sorry about that. I'm outside.
Oh, okay. I was blaming it on Nick. Yeah,
so. I was going to say, I was going to take the blame, but nope, it's not me.
There's a dog park right here. It's not a very good spot to be.
That's okay. It's perfect. I've been down there before. So you're going to be playing at the Memorial. It's what it looks like, right? That's what you're going to do. And Yep. Is this more or less, how are you treating this event before we let you go? How are you treating this event? It's not an Elite Series, but like you must have a certain feeling about it.
I'm trying to treat it like it is an Elite Series. I want to still give it my all and do my best. So I'm gonna do my best to practice like it is and put in the time. And I got a couple practice rounds here at Vista, and then the next 2 days I'll go to Fountain and hopefully get that qual styled in. And I'm going to try to hopefully kind of trick my mind into thinking that it's a bigger tournament than it is, and hopefully perform as if it is.
I think awesome. I think that could work. I'm not a pro disc golfer. I just talk about it. So we'll watch and see. I'll be watching. We're excited about that. It's funny because it's not an Elite Series. It's not to be forgotten about. It's still a very large event. And we're seeing names like, and Nick, can you confirm, is Paul planning to play? I see him on the registration.
He is planning to play. I think he is about 60 feet away from me in the house right now, and he is itching to get back out there and compete just after what happened with last weekend's tournament.
He doesn't want to be beat by Ezra Aderhold ever again. So anything,
don't take it personal.
Yeah, no, any other shout outs or anything that you were hoping we would ask, or things that you think people should know? This is an awesome opportunity right now. I say awesome. We think it's awesome. An opportunity for you to share with the world anything that you'd like. We're going to give you that platform if you want to. Anything you want.
Yeah, I think you guys asked awesome questions. It's been a cool podcast. So thanks for having me on, first of all. Thanks to Discraft for picking me up. Obviously, the discs walk well. I didn't ever play second with an open bag, and obviously I did with Discraft. So I definitely like the plastic. So huge shout out to Discraft and OTB as well. What's my camera? There we go. For sponsoring me. Yeah, it means a lot. And then obviously thanks to everybody pulling for me in tournaments and hoping that I play well. It's really cool to see the support on social media, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, thanks to everybody.
Cool. Really quick, what's your Instagram handle, and then where can people find you on YouTube?
Yeah, Instagram handle is Ezra_Aderhold, and then on YouTube is just my name, Ezra Aderhold DG.
Can you tell us
cool.
the hacking that happened and you lost all your followers? Have you've already recovered and you probably have more followers now? Is that right?
Yeah, it's actually almost doubled since then. So
awesome.
Yeah, it was so cool to see a lot of other pros kind of repost my post saying that I got hacked and talking about the new account, and so that really helped get it back to where it was super quickly. So
we had to use pretty much all of our efforts in our channels and our connections to try to get a hold of you, because we knew following an event you were going to be bombarded by friend requests and messages.
Yeah,
It's been crazy, yeah.
I was gonna say you'll see my message in your Instagram DMs. You can go ahead and delete it now, or save it for the next time that we need you on the podcast.
Okay. Sounds good.
I asked for his phone
Cool.
number. I said, "Is this the best way?" And I asked for his, so now we have a direct connection if we need to do it again. That's okay if we reach out to you, Ezra, in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to be back on.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you very much, Ezra. I'm down here in Arizona as well, so I'll probably see you out in the course practicing this week. We'll be able to officially meet in person, and I look forward to watching you play again.
Awesome. Thanks again,
All right.
guys.
Peace out, man.
Take it easy, bud. Peace.
Yeah.
All right. So, Nick, obviously, that was really cool. Like that was a really good interview. So
yeah, that's definitely the first time that I've actually had a conversation with Ezra. So it was cool to kind of get to know a little bit who he is and everything like that. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had to ask the question, and it's interesting role that I'm put in here, obviously, as a talk show host. I'm like, was that a fluke? Like, I just had to ask it because I feel like you see players who will stand out early on or once in a while. I'm not going to drop a whole bunch of other names right now. I don't need to be that hot of a take. And they never show up again. Obviously, he did something to set himself up for the season start, and he did it. So let's move right into the next topic here. That was great. LVC Performance Breakdown. Yeah, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I want to say one thing that Ezra said at the end. I don't know if a lot of people caught this, but we talked about all the players that he beat this weekend. And he said, yeah, it's great. You know, I've been following along these players for a long time and everything like that, but he didn't win the tournament. So in a sense, he's not counting it as a win over Paul McBeth, a win over Ricky Wysocki, I think. You know, he'll say he beat them when he goes on and wins the tournament as well. And I think that was really cool. I've always thought that, to where I don't think I'm really better than someone else at the sport until I consistently can beat them in a tournament or do it more than once, with actually winning the tournament. Because anyone can have a bad weekend and you can beat them like that. But until you actually go and win the tournament for you having a great weekend, I think that's more so when it really counts.
Yeah, for sure. I tried to use the wording that he outperformed, and just because he didn't win, and I didn't want to put it on him and have him try to react and say, you know, no, I didn't win. Like, I didn't need him to talk down about himself, but he definitely outperformed them at this event. So let's move on. LVC Player Performance Breakdown. Okay, so this is something that we've done before. We're going to continue to do this. We're going to kind of hit the quick hitting facts here of how it played out. Let's start with Mpo. We are not a specific male only or female. In fact, we talk about both. So let's just start here with Mpo Top Four Finishers. If you didn't know, spoilers are coming at you right now, everybody. Eagle, winner. Ezra, second. Calvin, third. Garrett Girthy, fourth. And besides talking about Garrett's push here again to top, try to make podium at least. He was beat out by Sexton last year. I think it's impressive to see him make top four. I think it is. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I was just about to say, the four players that you just listed right there, two of which are former Mpo players that have won the tournament, and then two of which now are runner-ups at the event. Garrett being a runner-up at the event, and now Ezra being a runner-up. So I think you have incredible competition who's making that top four. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think Garrett Girthy is one of the best backhand distance drivers in the planet. He has great form. It's unorthodox, but he knows how to control the disc. He knows how to throw it far. If Garrett's putting was to be at the level of maybe Ezra or Calvin or Eagle, Garrett would be easily one of the top three players in the world, just because of his backhand driving form. So for Ezra to be in conversation with those guys, I think is pretty incredible. But, I think that's a solid top four.
Yeah, for sure. And then if we were to ask the question, and this is a kind of a speculatory question, if you will, but who's missing from that list of the should have beens in the top four? Had we picked it, we did our show last week, I would have definitely put McBeth in the top four, and I would have put Wysocki in the top four. But they obviously were not there. Let's talk about a little bit Mpo Rating Averages. 1,077 was the average to win. That's 48 under par. Just to put out, that's obviously very impressive. That is 73 points rating, and it looks like 36 strokes better than last cash. So average to last cash was 1,004, a rating of 1,004. That's 12 under par, and that was Nate Perkins. Now you outperformed Nate Perkins. What did you shoot under par? Do you remember?
14 under par. I was 15 under par going into the last round, and then I shot 1 over par the final day. So yeah, 14 under par. I think I beat Nate by 2. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he finished 12 under par. I think there were 3 or 4 players who did finish 11 under par or worse, and they made the cut. They played the final day, but they didn't get paid. So I think in my head going into that final round, the way I'd been playing all week and the way my biggest confidence booster was my putting, I think going into that final round, I knew that I wasn't going to blow up if I was making putts. The only thing that was going to kill me is being too aggressive on shots where I shouldn't have been aggressive, and that is actually exactly what happened. Fortunately, though, I was able to salvage some great birdies with some solid putting, some solid drives when I needed them to be. And I ended up taking the last cash, which was, I think, about $400. There was a bunch of us who ended up getting $400, I think, from a couple players shooting 15 down to 12 down.
That helps with the flight out there. So let's kind of ask this question. We talked about McBeth, and I said, I would have picked him to be in the top 4. I think the feeling going away from this tournament round was kind of that Paul underperformed. That's kind of how I felt. I started looking at the stats a little bit, and obviously it feels like he's underperforming when he's not winning, number one, when he's not finishing in a lead card position. It feels that way. But let's look at what's Paul's rating right now. What is it, 1,053?
53.
Okay.
Yep, 1053.
And if you averaged out his full tournament round rating, it was 1,000.
I think it was about 1048, right?
49.5. Yeah. So right.
49.5.
Almost 1,000. Yeah, I'm being really specific. Almost 1,050. I guess you could say he underperformed as a whole, but 1,050, is that really underperforming for Paul? That's his average, just about his average. And you don't need to give me full scoop. You've hung out with him driving around. Does he feel like he underperformed? And you can't really answer, but what's your perspective on that?
No, yeah, I would definitely 100% say that he feels like he underperformed. His putting, he said the last few rounds did not feel great, which was kind of weird because during the All-Star event, you could kind of see his putting was really good. And I spent some time with him this offseason. I've noticed that his putt has obviously gotten a lot more confident in his putting stroke and everything like that. But this tournament itself, he says he'll say it that he does not feel he was up to par with his putting, which is unfortunate because at that tournament, when it's windy, one bad putt can sail you the opposite direction 30 feet. Or, one bad putt that was low rolls another 40 feet back down the hill because of the way some of the baskets are. So I think that's one huge thing where an underperformance would come. And I think what I said to Eagle earlier is that when you're a player who's trying to fight back for that lead and you're trying to make that final push on Sunday, when you have gusts up to 20, 25 miles per hour, the discs are going to be a little bit more uncontrollable. And if you're a little less confident in how your throw is going, you're a little less confident in the disc maybe, there's going to be opportunities where you take stupid OB strokes because you had a 400-foot shot and a massive headwind. And unfortunately, you just turned it over too much, and there it goes OB.
Just to bring up that point on wind, the difference in scores and ratings even there is that between the 2 rounds on Innova course, one was not windy, the first time round on it.
Yeah.
And then second time round, final round, it was windy. It averages about 40 rating points difference between those 2 rounds, which is about 5 strokes worse for everybody. So, Nick, you might have felt like you played a horrible round, but the reality is, according to everybody else, you actually played very similar comparison.
Yeah. To be honest, I was actually kind of surprised with how low the rating was. I know I'd shot over par. My goal was to kind of, going down the stretch, I was trying to get a couple more birdies. And, at some point I had to say, look, I just want to remain even par. At that moment, I felt like even par was actually going to be 1,000 rated round. I was a little surprised that it was in the 980s, but at the same time, on day 2, when there was no wind, I had shot 6 down. So, I played worse by 7 strokes, and in a sense, that's inexcusable. I definitely made some stupid mistakes trying to be a little bit too aggressive. But I think for a lot of players, it was a struggle in the wind. There were times, a majority of that course felt like it played in a headwind. Holes where it was a tailwind, I played a lot better. And that was all weekend, whether it was day 1, day 4, 2, or 3. Anytime it was a tailwind, I felt way more in control than when it was just something, especially on an upshot where it might only be 380 feet. But to be honest, if I'm trying to do a nice controlled flick, that's about as far as I can throw it unless I really push it. And same thing with the backhand when you're trying to throw fairway drivers or distance drivers. That straight up headwind just makes it that much harder of a time.
For sure. So let's talk about this. Moving on from ratings as far as the MPO is concerned. MPO players who impressed or surprised us. You were there. My takeaway, though, honestly, Ezra surprised me pretty significantly. We already talked to him.
Yeah.
So we can
Agreed.
kind of move on to the next player that surprised me and see what you think about this is Brian Earhart. That guy,
Yes.
it was just so exciting. He is someone I will root for just because of, I want to say, his character on and off the course. The guy is legit. Great podcast. Go over there and check it out. Did he surprise you too? I mean, that felt like a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year there was actually maybe an event or two where Brian and I think 2 years ago as well, Brian and I had played a couple rounds together. And Brian's a better player than I am. And I know that right now he is definitely a better player than I am. So to see him miss USDGC qualifying spots all of 2020, he didn't qualify for USDGC. And I don't know if he tried, I don't even think he tried doing the Monday qualifiers. And then to come back and shoot top 10 at the first Pro Tour of the year and to earn a qualifying spot right off the bat, I think that's got to be a huge confidence boost. I know that he said he had lost some weight this offseason. He really put the time and effort into going out to the field, really honing in his skills. And I think it's all paying off. I was really pushing to get him on the show tonight. He unfortunately was busy, but he is someone who we've had on the show in the past. It was an incredible episode. He's an incredible guy to talk to. And also this story of not making USDGC all 2020 to doing it right off the bat. How much of a stress relief is that? No, I think that's incredible.
For sure. He talked about that as being really difficult. The fact that he wasn't able to qualify last year. You can go check out that show we had him on. So that was a surprise. I'm going to throw another name out here. I think I saw him in the chat earlier. It's possible he's still here. Brody Smith. That stands out to me as a surprise. I just feel like I had to almost go check my hot takes that I had made at the end of last year. I said Brody will never, and I said he'll never place. And I think I said I had to go back and find it. It wasn't that hot of a take. I said he won't ever place top 3 at a Pro Tour event. And that, I mean, that's a take. But I was like, did I say top 20? Because he was right. He was there first round. He was what, 17th, 14th? He was in there for a while.
I think 16th. Yeah. I think 16th place for the first 2 rounds. He was right around. He was definitely in the top 20 for sure. It's funny. I was doing a couple practice rounds with Brody, and I did ask him. I said, "What are your goals for this weekend? What do you got? What's your mindset, kind of for the year, but especially this weekend?" And he had said that he wanted to place top 20 at the Las Vegas Challenge. And I thought that was pretty inspiring in the sense of I do know how much work Brody is putting into his game. I know how much he is actually trying to hone his skills in. And one of his most incredible attributes right now in disc golf is his putting. Unfortunately, this weekend with how windy it was, I think he even said it, I think, in a Twitter post where his putting, which is normally a strong suit, was definitely not this weekend. But I do think that if he had a better putting weekend, he easily would have been in that top 20, potentially even top 15.
Yeah, I was surprised and impressed and proud of Brody. I think I forget what his average is. I looked it up. He's definitely hitting 1,000 rating. I feel like I say that so confidently at the next update. So
unless for some odd reason, Memorial is rough, which I definitely know that it's not going to be for him. He'll be cresting over that 1,000 rated mark going into, I think in 2 weeks when we get the ratings update. But I'll tell you this, Brody smashes discs. He throws actually incredibly far for playing the sport for, I think he said like 420 days or something like that. So be on the lookout for big things from Brody.
Yeah. And then finally, to wrap that conversation out of surprised and impressed, I want to say James Conrad. That guy threw us all off at the All-Star event. If you didn't watch the All-Star event, obviously he's throwing his new MVP discs. and they just didn't seem to be flying for him with confidence. That wasn't, you know, and you can't blame him, obviously. That's a difficult thing to do. But then he came out here and he placed, I want to say it's top 10. I'm forgetting now. I have him down in my list, but I forgot to write his
I
placement.
think 11th place.
Okay.
I'm 90% sure that it was 11th place.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially again with his new bag and the way he had started. That was a good finish. Hey, real quick, I know our audio listeners don't care about this, but we had Hannah McBeth in the chat, and she just mentioned how cool these shirts were. I'm just going to put it up. Appreciate that, Hannah. The Nick and Matt shirts, they're available on the Foundation Disc Golf, not podcast, Foundation Disc Golf website. They are for sale right now. A portion of the sales does go directly to support Nick and Matt show. So definitely go check those out. Let's move on here. Let's kind of pick this up a little bit here. Who are the Mpo players you and I might have forgot were at this event? I'm just going to list them off. We don't really need to talk about it unless one really stands out to us. But players we might have forgotten were at this event. And here we go. Because we didn't hear anything about them. Hamas, 14th place. Thomas Gilbert, 15th place. Jeremy Colling, 16th place. Nate Sexton, 17th place. Philo, 19th place. Eric Oakley, 21st. Scott Withers, the top 5 rated player in the world, whatever he is.
Yeah, he's 1040 rated.
Yeah, 29th place. Anthony Barella, 34th place. Jordan Castro, 34th. Kyle Klein, 43rd. Nate Perkins, 53rd. Austin Hannum, 56. Greg Barsby, 64. And to round this out, somebody I didn't even hear once or think about, and that's, I'm a disc golf fan, it just never came up. Emerson Keith, 64th place. Does anything stand out to you there, or is that just kind of like, hey, the way the media flows now, unless you're shooting hot rounds or you're in the top 10, you're not going to be in the media?
Well, I think because, you know, I've developed a friendship with a lot of these players. I actually was able to play with Emerson Keith the first round, and then I was able to play with Austin Hannum the third round. And, but yeah, due to their performances, especially with Emerson and Greg Barsby not making the cut, I think that kind of shot them out. But I think one thing to remember is this is the first event of the year. I think players are kind of shaking off that initial rust, getting back into the swing of things. They might not have had the offseason that they wanted. I wouldn't say don't count them out for the whole year. I know Austin is actually still in the process, I would assume, of learning the new bag. He became a Prodigy sponsor player this year. And, you know, I think they are players that will shoot back up to where they, you know, kind of played last year. But yeah, there were some noticeable names. And I think that's, if you look back in years past, I mean, Vegas, it's a long course. A lot of the par threes are hard to get in the sense of there's a lot of OB around them. So players who aren't big distance throwers are definitely at a disadvantage. So I think that's one thing, definitely.
Yeah, and I think it's fair. And Hannah McBeth in the chat saying she would argue the Sexton one, and I agree. I think she's right there. As far as his play, you kind of forgot about him. As far as coming into the event, you knew he was the returning champion trying to defend his title. So you did know he was there. It wasn't a total, hey, I didn't remember he was there. But let's move on to FPO. Top 4 finishers. Again, spoilers, everybody. Shut it off if this bothers you. But we're post event now. Paige Pierce taking it down 1 stroke over Katrina Allen, and watching that play out was super cool. That was the first time on camera interview that I had heard Paige say that she was actually had nerves that affected her upshot to make it as close as it was. She threw OB on her last shot, had to hit the putt, or else more or less it was going to go to a playoff. It didn't go to the playoff, of course, but that was interesting. So Paige, Katrina second, Jessica Weiss, she performs well out here. I was out there filming last year, and she performs well out there. 3rd place for her, good job. And then Own. You see her come out to this event. You don't see her on tour everywhere, but good performance for her, top 4. FPO rating averages. This is interesting. Paige Pierce averaging 993. It would have been higher, except for round, what was it, 2?
Yes, round 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, 993, that's above her average. And then finally, last cash averaging for FPO. And this beats a lot of men out there. 918 average, a 918 average to get last cash. And that is new to the tour, Cynthia Ricciotti, or however you might say that last name.
I think Ricciotti.
Ricciotti.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you for correcting me on that one. So good job to her making last cash. Honestly, Nick, what do you think about that? Making last cash at her first event?
So, I mean, I think that's incredible. I think she had announced at some point last year that she was planning on doing a full-on tour, and hopefully, with everything going on in the world right now, hopefully that will be a possibility. I think that's great, going out and cashing at your first Pro Tour event. Believe me, I know the struggle of going out to events and not cashing, especially out on the road, and it's a stressful game. So for her to go out and do that and get that kind of cash right off the bat, I think you're going to see bigger things to come from her as well.
Cool. And then kind of similar to what we did with the MPO is names you might have forgotten or didn't remember. And this is kind of an interesting one. I think I would say that I knew she was here, but man, it was just no media really surrounding it. Haley King. She kind of had a bad start, and without having her on the show to ask her the question on that, you have to kind of feel like that's related to nerves or a feeling of this is the start of the season. I closed it out last year. Like, did you have any conversations? Not in COVID world, you don't rub shoulders, but like anything stand out to you about that? She averaged 950, which is 12 below her rating.
So I haven't really talked to her about the event too much. We did casually talk here and there when we were passing by, but going from, I think she had said some interview that she had done where she didn't play a lot of disc golf this offseason. She focused on her body. I think she did a lot of putting and stuff like that, but she didn't really go out and play a lot of rounds of disc golf. And I think that's going to be kind of a crippling factor going into these first events where you had the All-Star event. She did not perform how, we thought she would perform. And then you have Vegas, to where at one point she was 31st place, and she made a huge jump the last round or two, maybe round and a half, to get up into 5th place and make an incredible finish from how she started. So her drive was there to get back. I think she had shot 5 or 6 down the final round, which was great, obviously. But I do think a lot of these players right now who haven't been playing a lot of disc golf this offseason, you're going to notice some rust throughout these first few events. And I think by the time we get to April and May, you're going to start seeing players in their true form. But right now, yeah, I think that would kind of hinder her at the moment.
And then, yeah, I agree. And then the other thing that stands out was Kona's 948 average rating. And I bring up average rating. I don't care about ratings as far as player ratings go, but it is an average to how they perform. A 948 average rating at this event was 22 better than her player rating, which means that she outperformed how she averages in disc golf. So congrats to her.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny when you actually sent me that in the show notes earlier. I had expected her rating actually to be a little bit higher. And Kona is someone out on the FPO tour. She works very hard. She is figuring out styles of her putt. She's figuring out her backhand form. Her forehand is actually looking great, especially on upshots. Kona is putting in the dedication and the work, and I know she probably feels a little bit disappointed with potentially how she played this week. But to average, I think what you just said was 22 points above her rating. That's a win in and of itself, and I think we're going to see that increase because she is someone who did put a lot of work in this offseason.
Yeah, and
she won the All-Star event. So.
I know. Congrats to Kona. We'll have her on again at some point. So again, we don't always discuss with the chat boards, but Hannah's throwing out, she says, I got you guys in the chat. And what she means by that is relation to the Haley King conversation. She said that Haley had set her bag up with understable discs, practicing when there was no wind. And so that threw her off, no pun intended, but that threw her off when the round was really windy. And so obviously she changed up her game plan, and then obviously she did perform very well. She moved up, I think, 30-something spots after round one, so good job to her. All right, Nick, we're jumping into a fairly big topic here, but it's really interesting. I've asked both players. I think I asked Ezra. I can't remember now. The Paul McBeth contract, all right? You are, for those who don't know, you are currently residing in an RV or driving around, or you're down in the McBeth's residence. You're rubbing shoulders with Paul McBeth. So you heard this news. I have to believe you heard it before everybody else, but let's talk about it. $10 million for 10 years. And here's my hot take. I don't know, you've probably heard this. Is that contract big enough? That's what I want to talk about. Is that contract big enough? And
Ooh,
here's where that comes from.
that's a hot take.
Yeah, here's where it
Yeah.
comes from. Will Paul outperform his contract like he did the previous one? Meaning he's going to start selling even more discs, and the machines that they purchased to make the more discs that he was providing as you know, a marketing. Is he going to do that again? And they're going to we need more machines. Is he actually worth more? And then I guess we could just talk about like how good of a deal did Discraft get, or am I way off here? Like, is that it's big for the sport, but is it big?
Yeah.
Is it big for Paul?
It's definitely huge for the sport, and I think one of the biggest things that just happened was they released the video of him signing the contract, and look at all the media outlets that ended up jumping onto the disc golf hype train right now. Barstool Sports, The Guardian, TMZ, and I've seen nothing but positive feedback on comments, YouTube, everything like that, to where, hey, this is pretty incredible. Like, we can't really look at disc golf as a joke anymore. And I think since the start of this pandemic, the growth that disc golf has experienced, you're obviously looking at who are the top players in that sport. That was one of the first things that I did when I started playing was, who can I follow? Who can I be like? How can I train and be like them? And so for Paul, I think as more players come into the sport, that's only going to be helpful for him in the sense of, you know, there are disc royalties, there are stuff like that. His popularity grows, which in essence, that helps out Discraft as well, because now their popularity grows. And you have Discraft, which arguably in the last 2 years is easily the number one company out there. You know, they're selling the most discs. They had to buy more machines to keep up with the, influx of players that has just come about. So I think deal wise, at the moment, it's an incredible deal. It's obviously never been heard of in disc golf. It's way larger than the deal that was previously in place. I think both parties, meaning Paul McBeth and Discraft, I think they both made out perfect. But I do think, in all honesty, I think the deal will be outgrown within the next 3 to 4 years, to be honest.
There it is. Nick Carl even agrees with that take. Wow. Yeah. So,
but I think it's an incredible deal. I do think that is, it's absolutely incredible. And I remember actually first hearing about it and just being mind blown. But like I said, I do think that it will be outgrown.
And hopefully, and Eagle didn't disclose this, but I've heard talks, and I can't say directly to Eagle. I'm just going to talk about players in general. I've heard numbers thrown around about what players make, and I'm not far out to say that players are being offered $500,000 for, a certain amount of time. I'm not going to say the time length on it, but like there's guaranteed cash money now flowing that we've never heard of before. Hopefully, and I would love to like put Eagle in a corner and make him answer this. Hopefully something like that happened to Paul here inspires Eagle to when he does renegotiate, or inspires Ricky or Paige or Haley, all these players to feel like, and you want to say emboldened, some of them are going to feel hesitant to do this. And that's where Paul excels. Paul's kind of like, here's what I'm worth and take it or leave it kind of a thing. You got to get to that place, I think. Yeah. And then the manufacturers are going to have to decide, is this player representing the brand in a big enough way where it's going to matter if they leave? And then some other manufacturer comes along that's willing to scoop them up, Discraft, and they rule the world. So,
hey, we've said it in the past. I think that the transparency of this video and having Paul actually announce what he's making over the next 10 years, that before manufacturers had the ball in their court where they could dictate what they think a player is worth. And the player kind of just sits back and says, you know what, if that's what you're saying I'm worth, then I guess that's what I'm worth. Shoot. All right. Now that Paul put that out there, obviously Paul's a 5-time world champion, multiple major winner, got a 2-time US DGC title. He's obviously worth an incredible amount, but I think players, as they start performing better at these events, now they actually have a little bit of wiggle room to where, hey, we know what this guy is getting paid. I think I'm a fraction of the player that he is. So I think this is what I deserve. And I'm confident and I'm hopeful that players will actually start, making more money and getting more money from their sponsorships being disc manufacturers, because before, disc manufacturers had all the power. And after this release, which I think is the best thing that's happened in disc golf recently, I think that definitely shook things up.
So Besides the fact that we like a lot of these touring players, like we're inspired by what they do, and we think, oh, they deserve or earned themselves. They need the money. We want to see them get the money. Besides that, and this is a whole huge topic, but it's at least just worth throwing out there. Like, why? Like, what does it benefit for the sport when the players make the more money? Besides us being inspired and saying, you worked hard to get that. I think in general, what it tells me is that the sport is growing so large that it creates more opportunities for, I want to say, not even players who are already established. Does it inspire people, Nick? And this is interesting thought. Does it inspire other athletes in the world who are not disc golfers saying, I'm over here playing whatever sport it is, and let's just say like AAA baseball, right? They're not making $10 million in 10 years. Does it inspire another athlete in a different sport to say, I've heard the news, I think I can get really good at another sport, let me give it a try, see what I can do? I mean, is that going to happen? Probably.
I think a perfect example of that is actually Holland Hanley. She did play Vegas. I don't exactly remember what place she finished in. I think top 15. But she was a former athlete in, I think, basketball and maybe a few other sports. But then she found disc golf, and because of her natural athleticism, she was able to develop skills pretty quickly. And she beat Jennifer Allen and Katrina Allen at the Maricopa Open, which was a large B tier here in Arizona. So I do think as players finally figure out what other players are making, especially in the FPO division, a lot of different athletes from other sports are going to say, hey, I can make that much money playing disc golf. Sign me up. They're going to start coming in.
Show me the money. And I never thought I would say that with disc golf. Now,
exactly. I think we're getting to that point, to be honest.
Yeah. I remember, I think one of our first shows, I'll have to go back and find it, Nick, and I'll use it against you one day in the future. I said, hey, how many pros do you think are going to be making X amount of dollars full time on tour? And I was like, 10. You're like, yeah, that's too many.
I mean, I think you got to kind of think, like, what is it making a comfortable living? Is it getting by and getting to the next tournament and being able to afford gas and food? Or is it putting money away in a savings account, a retirement, and everything like that? I think those are the two differences in what's happening. But I do think because of this announcement, I do think players are actually going to be able to start having a little leeway, especially I hope this motivates other players to get better. And to be able to perform. That's the only way that they're going to be able to get more money is by performing better.
So as we kind of wrap up this topic about Paul McBeth's deal, we had to talk about it. I mean, it's the largest news story in disc golf ever. I don't remember other times. I mean, obviously you have like viral videos making it all around the world. But as far as news breaks, that's significant. But we talked about, how much does this inspire other players? We talked about that a little bit, but is there any chance that this makes other players feel defeated? The idea of, man, I don't know. I'm going to throw out Ricky Wysocki. I do not know what he's making. I can't act like I do. If I had to guess, and this is pure speculation, I have no insider knowledge here. Let's say he's making $125,000 a year, just straight out until they renegotiate contracts. If he has $125,000 a year, is he feeling slighted? Let me bring it up. And the reason I asked this question is because I saw a social media post, and let me just kind of quote it here. Such a shame. Professionals in our sport are selectively chosen to receive benefits all pros should have. He, meaning Ricky, absolutely deserves to have a great contract talked about also. Imagine Rory, Tiger, Nicklaus, etc. on tour trying to sell golf balls to supplement income. There's a lot to take away from that I think this social media poster got wrong. But is there the possibility that other players are feeling defeated and like they deserve this? And what's it going to take for them to not feel that defeatedness?
I mean, I think it'd be kind of funny if there were players out there who think they deserve the same contract as Paul just got, only in the sense of there's not a player out there competing in the the MPO division who has done the things that Paul has done. 5-time world champion, 2-time United States disc golf champion, 5-time European Open champion, which is another major. There are players who obviously have won majors like Chris Dickerson, and there's players who have done incredible things in the sport, but their popularity doesn't match Paul's, and their skill level and what the accolades, I should say, do not match Paul. And so I think players are feeling defeated in the sense of, yeah, they clearly have, I would say, potentially wasted a few years and kind of being that, hey, I'm just getting by, I'm cashing at tournaments, and I'm getting on to the next event. You really don't have that kind of like winning mentality out of a lot of these pros right now. And 5 years ago, had they had that, they might have been, a 2017, 2018, 2019 world champion. But because they're not able to negotiate that kind of contract with the disc manufacturers at the moment. So, yeah, I would feel defeated as a player right now, just in the sense of.
Do you feel defeated as a player, Nick? Do you feel?
Do I feel? No, heck no.
How much are you making in disc golf? $400 at the last event. That's pretty good.
$400 at the last event, and believe me, the way my last round went, and kind of that style of course isn't, it's not my style in the sense of I don't throw far. I'll be the first to admit it. I have a noodle arm compared to a lot of people, and that was a huge crippling factor out there this weekend. Had I been able to throw another 75 feet to 80 feet consistently and accurately, I'd be able to put a lot more competitiveness at an event like that. That's a big reason why I'm actually really excited to go out to Waco. I love playing in the woods. I'm excited. My putt feels more confident than ever. And, but yeah, so no, I don't personally feel defeated. I feel motivated. And, obviously Paul's one of my best friends. I'm super happy for him. And it's an incredible thing to actually see him be the pioneer in our sport to have that happen.
I'm regretting the fact that I didn't put Eagle and Ezra. Ezra is a little early to the game here, but put Eagle in a corner and say, when are you going to make $1 million contract? But it's a real question that obviously he's thought about. So when we get off air, Nick,
yeah, oh god, yeah.
if he's still watching, he mentions that he does. Or if you get on air, send him a text. And I mean, if you get him on his phone and be like, when are you making? Good. No, don't really do that. But it is a question. Obviously, these players are thinking about it. Okay, let's move on from that. We're going to take just a very short topic here. We don't need to elaborate much on it, but the All-Star event, the Disc Golf Pro Tour All-Star event happened, and it was, I'm just going to give you my take, boring to me, and I'm just going to even classify by saying to me. It was boring to me. I had a perspective for an All-Star event to be more entertaining. And maybe that's because the cameras, we're going to talk a little bit about that, the Disc Golf Network, how they actually produced it. Maybe the content was there, but they didn't show it. But it was boring to me. I think Worst Disc is interesting, but not necessarily to watch. Like the strategy's cool, but I don't know if the watching it was the best part to showcase, how good players were. I would love to see more field events. And I think they actually talked about that already for next year. I'm not poo-pooing on the event. They are going to obviously make it better every year. It was a first year, COVID, the whole 9 yards. But that's my take on it. Congratulations, though, that being said, to Paul and Kona, first time ever winners. Nick, what's your feeling on it?
Honestly, I think this is a great topic. I got to get out of here in just a little bit. But I think the Disc Golf Network and the Disc Golf Pro Tour had put together something that they thought was going to be an incredible event. I do think that there were parts of the event that were incredible. I think being able to get all-stars in their respective division and actually put them all in one place and play disc golf against each other is a great thing to watch. The coverage, I would say, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, was very lackluster. It wasn't very good. There's a lot of struggling points with it. The way that the format was and the tee times that they had going on, I think that was part of the issue. There wasn't enough manpower or woman power to be out there and actually film everything that was going on. I think that the format itself had a cool idea to it, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. I did like watching war shot doubles in the sense of the players both had to have a good shot in order to get a birdie. But the other boring part was on some holes, players are both laying up from like 50 feet. And that's boring for me to watch.
Yeah.
I'm hoping next year that they have some field games going on, and I'm hoping that there's a match play format to it because believe me, I love watching match play. I love playing match play. I would love to see Eagle against Paul in a match play event, Ricky against Kevin, stuff like that.
Exactly. All right. As we get ready to wrap up in the next couple of minutes here, we're just going to hit on this just as a point to make. The Disc Golf Network has added commentators in addition to their previously established, which was Nate Doss, Valerie Jenkins, Hannah McBeth, Terry Miller, Jamie Thomas. In addition to that, they're adding Ian Anderson, which hate him or love him, he seems like a good guy. Philo, Christine Jennings, Elaine King, Nate Sexton. I think that's a big ad. That stood out to me. Nate Sexton to Disc Golf Network's commentary team. And then Dana Vicic, a disc golfer for a long time, used to be sponsored by Vibram, now runs a lot of stuff for Discmania. So in short, people want to know probably right away, is it worth it? The Disc Golf Network worth it? Is the subscription worth it? And I'm just going to tell you, if your budget makes sense to spend $5 a month, if you're a PDGA member, then it's totally worth it. If your budget doesn't make sense, then you obviously don't make that choice, but you should do it.
Agreed. 100%. The filming going from the All-Star break, the All-Star weekend to the Vegas was exponentially better. It was incredible at how actually good I thought the coverage was. Commentators, I thought were okay. You know, they did some annoying things that I think is annoying. They did some great things that I loved. But coverage itself, I thought was incredible. And actually, it's funny because being at an event, normally after my round, I'd go back out and watch Paul or go watch one of my buddies. Now I can't really do that at the moment. So I was able to go up to the restaurant that's at the country club, eat my food, and watch the Disc Golf Network on the TV. And I had a blast doing it. I thought it was very fun, and it was enjoyable. Choppy here and there when the Wi-Fi service, the internet out there got a little rough. But for the most part, it was really good coverage.
Man, you're not wrong. That point you made from All-Stars, people did do this. That was a mistake, if I can call it a mistake. If I can call it a mistake, it's too bad that the Disc Golf Network had their All-Star event at the beginning of the year, which that's a whole nother topic. They're moving it towards, at the end of, long story short, it's moved to the end of the year for 2021. Yep. Great move, because the problem was here, they were set up for failure. This is considered the first event of the year, if you will, and it's not the first event of the year, but they worked out all the rust and kinks, and then they came back strong. Honestly, touted by well-established, I'll just say it, Simon Lizotte said it was really, really good. So big changes there. So Nick, our first show ever streaming on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel. It will be good to have you in a studio form at some point, and I miss having you actually in studio with me.
Yeah, give me 2 weeks.
Great. And maybe you can figure out the whole login information thing so we can have you on an actual webcam.
I'll get that set up. Unfortunately, with a little travel day going on today, I wasn't able to set up exactly how I wanted to, but I hope everyone is enjoying the podcast, post audio, and people watching live at the moment. It's been a blast. Please go on to foundationdisc.com. You can see my shirt right here. We finally have some merchandise. Go check it out. It's a super comfortable shirt. I'm actually loving it right now. I'm about to go do some putting practice in it. So I'm excited. And I'm super thankful. I was going to say I'm super thankful to actually have some merchandise with something that Matt and I were able to build from start. And now a year later, just about, we're streaming with the Foundation platform, and I'm super excited for what the future holds with it.
I was just going to say, hey, look, I'm on Nick's shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can say the same when I wear it. We'll be the two people to wear that shirt. Actually, I saw one of our super fans, and I will just call him out. He said he already purchased the shirt. You know who that is? There's a few.
I'm going to go, Rocky McGuire, Ken Chapman.
Ken Chapman. Final answer, Ken Chapman. Yeah, you got it. All right. Shout out. Thank you guys, everybody, for what you're doing. Again, we will continue to try and bring this show in the best format possible. We're constantly learning, trying to grow, trying to do things better. If you like it, please subscribe. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time. Nick, peace out, man. Oh, wait. You got to say your thing.
Tell someone you love them this week.
Yeah,
I got you. Everybody, tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you in the next one. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Check us out on the Foundation Podcast Network on all the podcast platforms and YouTube.
Yeah, that was just a psych. You're awesome, Nick. Peace out.
Yeah. Peace out.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or stream us live exclusively on the Foundation Podcast's YouTube channel.